It was good, man. Another reaction. This mistake cost 16 skydivers their lives. I ain't gonna lie, that's crazy. I wonder what happened. What mistake they made? Like they forgot their parachute, or cause I just reacted to a video. Dude forgot his parachute when he dove. I'm like, how you do that? How you skydiving if you forget your parachute? That's the only thing that's gonna save you. How you forget that? If you don't got your parachute, you dead. How you go? You feel me? I, I don't get how you forget that, but 16 skydivers, that's crazy. They all died. What happened? I'm about to see what they talking about.
World War II bomber plane for a complimentary high-altitude jump.
Wait, what?
20 skydivers eagerly board a World War II bomber plane for a complimentary high-altitude jump. Little do they know, it would turn into the deadliest disaster in the history of recreation.
That gotta be a crazy adrenaline rush, though. Skydiving, like, just falling through the air. I don't never do that, though, because it's like, even if you got a parachute, what if it don't work or something? It's over. If your parachute malfunction, all it takes is one time. Like, one mistake, you dead forever. It ain't worth it for real.
Skydiving. As the plane ascends, they prepare for the exhilarating jump. But the weather worsens, and a thick layer of clouds engulfs the sky.
So what that mean? So you're not supposed to skydive when it's like mad clouds or something? I'm guessing like the weather, but that's what you just said. But they still about to do it, huh? They probably saw it. Let me see.
The golden rule of skydiving: don't jump if you can't see the target. The thrill seekers leap into the abyss.
Okay. So it's like, so you can see the ground or something? Because if it's cloudy, you want to be, okay, I get it. Because what if you like going towards a body, like a lake or something? Dive right into a lake? Okay, I get it. Yeah. So they tripping. So they knowing that. And they still want to dive. I don't, like, why would you even risk your life like that? It's just a skydive. Bro, the weather is bad. You know you're not supposed to. Like, come on now. They probably like, we already up here. So what? Bro, go back another day.
And 16 fall to their deaths in the cold. Rule of skydiving: don't jump if you can't see the target. The thrill seekers leap into the abyss below. And 16 fall to their deaths in the cold waters of Lake Erie in Ohio.
They dove into a lake.
August 28th, 1967, a group of about 30 enthusiasts made their way to Ortner Airport in Ohio for a complimentary flight. It was a rare opportunity to jump from a modified warplane at a height of 20,000 feet. The sport is relatively new, and fans take every chance to register a high-altitude jump under their belt.
Never.
But the medium-sized customized B-25 Mitchell bomber offered limited seating. As a result, the pilot decided only to give seats to the most experienced skydivers. This meant that about 10 jumpers were turned away. They had no clue at the time, but the pilot's decision would ultimately save their lives.
For real?
The event was initially postponed due to the thick cloud cover in the morning, but the plane eventually took off in the late afternoon, carrying 20 sport parachutists. The plan was for 18 of them to drop from 20,000 feet over the Ortner airfield, while the other 2 would jump from 30,000 feet as the plane looped back over it. But things would play out very differently. Due to the heavy cloud cover, the pilot had to rely on the Cleveland Air Traffic Control for navigational confirmations and instructions. Shortly after takeoff, a single-engine Cessna 180 departed the same air.
I'm saying, like, the pilot had to do all that. He should have called it off. Like, nah, I don't think it's safe for real. You can't even. Well, he said he needs somebody else to navigate for him. Like, nah, it's over for that.
The pilot had intended to watch the event from the ground, but changed his mind when he ran into an enthusiast who had been scheduled to join the skydivers. Together, they decided to capture photographs from a height of approximately 12,000 feet. The jumper plane took off at 3 p.m., embarking on a slow and challenging hour-long circular ascent to reach the intended 20,000 feet. At that altitude, temperatures were between
How long it took to get up there?
On a slope. The jumper plane took off at 3 p.m., embarking on a slow and challenging hour-long circular ascent to reach the intended 20.
Oh, I didn't know it take an hour to go up 20,000 feet, and they about to jump from. Oh my god! I wonder how long it take to fall from there. Like, how long until they hit the ground? Bro, it took them an hour to get up to 20,000 feet. That's wild.
1,000 feet. At that altitude, temperatures were between 20 and 30 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Since the plane lacked insulation and heating, many skydivers wore extra layers of insulated clothing over their jumpsuits. It was an important detail that would later prove devastating.
How?
During the B-25's ascent, the pilot headed towards the Cleveland radio station to get a positive navigational fix on Ortner Airfield and proceed towards the drop zone. In the 1960s, GPS was not yet available, and pilots relied on very high-frequency radio signals for guidance. According to court documents related to the incident, both planes contacted air traffic control within 2 minutes of each other, reporting positions over or near the Cleveland radio beacon. The B-25's pilot was the first to make the call and was given a heading by the radar controller, which supposedly put him 6 miles away from the designated jump zone at Ortner Airfield. However, the Cessna, flying at 12,000 feet in the direction of the Cleveland beacon, had no visual of the B-25 and contacted traffic control to verify his location in relation to it. Air traffic control could only spot one target in the area and informed the Cessna that it was probably about 6 miles behind the B-25. As it turned out, the actual situation was quite different.
They lost it.
Unknown to everyone at the time, the air traffic controller had mistakenly identified the Cessna as the B-25 on the radar, confusing the bomber's location. In reality, the B-25 was flying over Lake Erie, about 12 to 13 miles from the intended drop zone.
They didn't even know it, man. That's crazy.
While the pilot believed...
Simply press generate. That sounds really cool. So let's generate some more melody.
While the pilot believed they were only 3 miles away and started preparing for the drop. The first 18 skydivers planned to perform free-fall maneuvers close to each other, requiring them to jump almost simultaneously to maintain minimum separation. The pilot gave the signal to the jump master, and all of the jumpers were out of the plane within 30 seconds, starting their planned relative work maneuvers. However, they immediately noticed the complete cloud cover below them. The limited light and semi-enclosed nature of the bomb bay area where they were seated had made it difficult for them to see the conditions below. Their plan was to continue free-falling until reaching around 2,500 feet, at which point they would deploy their chutes or canopies over Ortner Airfield. The skydivers were unaware of what lay beneath the clouds. The Cessna attempted to locate them after the first 18 jumpers were in the air, thinking the bomber was in the same area, but neither the bomber nor the jumpers were there. They remained in freefall as they descended through the cloud layer, breaking out at around 4,000 feet. It wasn't until then that the skydivers made the alarming discovery. They were roughly 4 miles offshore and nowhere close to the airfield.
Nothing you could do now. I don't wonder what was going through their head. They like, damn, like, after they figure out that they away from the drop zone over, they dropping into water, like, they just know they about to die. It's like, that gotta be crazy feeling.
In the next few seconds would ultimately determine whether they would live or die. There were only 3.5 minutes left for them to prepare for impact and begin a fight for survival. All around them, skydivers started shedding boots, heavy clothing, and anything that would not float as they prepared to hit the water. Witnesses on the ground saw brightly colored canopies opening at different intervals in the sky, with the jumpers plunging into the water, one after the other, in a straight line as though it had been meticulously planned.
Right.
With a sense of urgency, an off-duty Coast Guard stationed on the beach witnessed the harrowing sight and sprung into action to organize rescue efforts with nearby boats. The sea conditions were treacherous, with waves reaching as high as 4.
That's crazy. And of course, the sea bad at this time when they jump.
Adding to the already deadly situation. Meanwhile, far above, the B-25 continued its circular ascent, blissfully unaware of the chaos unfolding below it. The crew's request to ascend to 30,000 feet, the altitude from which the remaining 2 skydivers would jump, was initially denied. But undeterred, the pilot redirected the plane towards the Cleveland radio station. After plotting a new course, the remaining 2 skydivers successfully jumped over the intended drop zone at the airfield 20 minutes after the first drop. The B-25 descended and landed, oblivious that the 18 jumpers were caught in a monumental battle for survival.
Wow.
Meanwhile, skydivers Bernard Johnson and Robert Coy frantically struggled to free themselves from their heavy gear before hitting the water. They desperately tried to stay afloat, but their remaining equipment threatened to drag them under. Hope seemed to fade as they bobbed in the waves until a private fishing boat appeared in the distance. It headed straight for them. The 2 men were pulled aboard just in time.
They actually survived. So what? Only 2 of them survived.
Survivors.
Damn.
Were pulled aboard just in time. They were the only survivors.
That's crazy. So the only 2, because they said those was the only 2 people that wasn't able to get their equipment off. So they would have jumped quick. So how the other ones died, man? Because they took their equipment. They should be able to float right where they at.
Despite their relief at being rescued, the 2 were bitter about the tragedy that had befallen their fellow jumpers in the water. According to one of the men, he spotted a nearby vessel with a tall radio antenna as he struggled to stay afloat. He saw a man on the deck looking directly at him, but despite his cries for help, the boat continued past him, not even 20 yards away.
That's crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That is crazy, though. Damn, dude could really save them. Like, you... What you, like, bro? You see a dude drowning. Why you ain't just... Like, you could have saved him for you in that big boat. Come on now.
To this day, nobody knows who the unhelpful stranger was, but many speculate that he could have been involved in some shady dealings and didn't want to get involved with the rescue. If he had assisted...
That's a good probably.
And even one jumper or radioed for more help, the 2 survivors believe the fishing boat could have reached more people before it was too late. Abandoned canopies, jumpsuits, harnesses, and helmets bobbed on the waves without any sign of their owners.
Wow.
Initially, the teams only recovered 2 lifeless bodies, but the true extent of the disaster was yet to be discovered. In the following days, the lake revealed the fate of the remaining skydivers, as the bodies of 16 jumpers were eventually retrieved from its unforgiving depths. A month later, the National Transportation Safety Board found the B-25 pilot and the FAA controller at fault for the accident. The jumpers were also found to have some responsibility due to their experience. The pilot's certificate was indefinitely suspended, and in 1972, the FAA was found responsible for the deaths of 16 skydivers in a...
Yeah, you can't really get mad at, like... They see the weather bad. They know you're not supposed to die, but they still going on with it. It's like, I don't get why.
Wrongful death lawsuit. After that fatal event, the Parachute Club of America changed its rules, restricting jumps within 50 miles of any body of water unless survival gear is worn. To this date, the Lake Erie tragedy remains the deadliest skydiving accident. Watch this episode next if...
That's wild, man.